Well, according to the U.S. Constitution, there's only one way laws can be passed. The Congress creates it with the legislative branch and the other one. And then the president has to look at it and say yes or veto. No. No traffic so-called laws has been passed into law by the president. So they're not laws. They have to be passed into law by the president because Congress cannot pass laws without confirmation from the president. The legislative branch can't pass laws on its own without confirmation from the president signing it into law. Traffic laws were never signed into law by the president. They're not laws. They're statutes. They're statute codes. They're not laws. They can only create statutes, codes, policies, rules, regulations, edicts, ordinances, and mandates. That's all they can create. And a bunch of people have said a mandate's not a law. Well, if a mandate's not a law, it's a rule. It's just like all the other regulations and edicts and whatever. They're not laws. Nothing in the U.S. Constitution says that any of that can be seen as law. The president has to pass it into law. So even Congress cannot pass anything just straight up into law. Legislators cannot just straight up pass anything they want into law. They're not given that right. It has to go through the president. And it never went through the president. They are not laws. They are lying to you. You have been lied to so they can take money out of your pocket and force you to do what they want. Control is what they want. And you bow down and you say, okay, I'll get this stuff. You can control me and my property. That's what you're doing. You're letting them control you and your property. They were not given the right to separately create and pass anything they want into law. They can't do that without you letting them by saying nothing and acting like you do. Oh, they can do it. I ain't going to fight. I'm going to be a good little slave and bow down to them and agree with them and just do what they want. You're not a man. All these men out there that's pushing for the government to control me and you're not a man. You're not standing up for yourself and your individual rights as an individual. So you're placed into a group, a community. That's where it states when you're in a community, or you're in a business that the government or the state created, that they can govern over you. Yeah, because you're in a community, and then you're just, even if you go outside, well, you're of the community, the city, the town, you're by yourself. You're still inside of a county, which is based upon a community inside of the county. So they steal and trap you into a community so they can control you. See, evil people will say, well, they don't want me to control them, so they're my enemy. They're a danger to the public. That's what a criminal will say. You're just a danger because I say so. I'm the government. I'm the police. I got all this stuff. I just say it. There's no actual other proof than them saying it and putting it on paper. It's all hearsay. And then you go, okay, that's what you say. Oh, I'm a driver. That's what you're calling me. That's what you say. So I just believe it without question and not stand up for my rights as a human being. You're not a human being when you're controlled under this. They do not have the right by themselves if you read how the government is to work, how Congress and the legislative branch and the other one is to work, everything to be turned into law that is created by Congress and the legislative branch together, and the other one, because there's two branches in the House, and the governors make up the legislative branch. The governors, not the states. The governors represent the state. They create it and then say, oh, the state is a state law. No, it's a human law created by a human, but it's not law. Because the president never signed traffic statutes and codes into law. That's the only way they can be seen as laws, if they're passed into law by the president. Yes, that's the law. The president is in control of passing laws. Congress is not. They can make them, but they can't say this is a law without the president. So y'all got it all wrong. Y'all been lied to. And you're just so confused about it. I'm going to believe what I want. I ain't going to believe that. I got Stockholm Syndrome. I love the government. Till the government stomps its boot onto your head. Just wait. The government will get you. And then you're going to be afraid of cops. You're going to be running around looking for them motherfuckers. Is that one going to be mean to me? Like a whole lot of other people that used to love the cops until they got attacked and no longer backed the blue. I knew a woman. She backed the blue. Her son was in the fucking army. And you know what? Her son died because the government allowed an illegal to be able to rent a vehicle without a driver's license. They had insurance, but they had no driver's license. The illegal rented a vehicle without a driver's license. So if that's the law, it's legal by the government, well then it's okay. But she went, she lived in Texas, and she wanted to try to create more laws for more control. Well, when someone she knows that hung with cops, have cops over at his house to eat with, went out to eat with them, buddy, friends, yeah, they'll act like your friend, tyranny with a smile. But then when the government creates a law that says you can't do this anymore, you can't do that, or they went on his property, no longer his friend, no longer buddy, and they enforced an unconstitutional law, and they said he was being trespassed by the cops on his own property. It's his property, no one's taking it, and he was trespassed and arrested for trespassing on his own property. Back to blue until they attack and torture you. That's what happened to him. He backed them, then he was attacked and tortured, put in them torture cuffs, put in that dungeon that's tortured to your mind. All of y'all that's never been through it, you don't know what it's like. And I do. Y'all wish it upon me. I wish you to be fucking treated the same way. Trespassed on your own property by a cop. And then put in shackles, and thrown in a dungeon. I do want that to happen to you. You want all this them to do all this bad stuff to us? Well, I want it to happen to you. I want them to do bad things to you so you'll wake up to you being a slave. You're a slave. If they can walk on your property and say you are trespassing on your own property and arrest you for it, you're a slave. They own you. They can put their hands on you. They can do what they want to you. You're owned. George Washington was a criminal. He was a rebel. He told the king and his laws to fuck off. That's what we're supposed to do. They're trying to be our master and our king, and they say we're the public servants. We're the servants of the public. What's a servant? What's the definition of a motherfucking servant? What's the definition? Tell me. Because they sure ain't acting like one. And you're not acting like their master. What's the definition of a master? And then the definition of a servant. What is that? The government's our servant. The government does what we want. We, the people, of, by, and for the people. The people ain't here that's of, by, and for the government. No. Of, by, and for the people. We, the people, all of us, together. If we all, as we rose up as we, the people, and took back control, none of this would exist. None of these arbitrary laws would exist. None of these statutes, none of these codes would be forced upon us. The UCC Commercial Code Law, or codes, it's not law, was created for the departments that the states create. And created for the state, to regulate the states, to regulate the departments they create. Was not, and the foreigners who come here create a business. They are to regulate them. The foreigners who come in here to become a U.S. citizen, not an American. That's a lie. They don't become Americans. They become a U.S. citizen, get a birth certificate into the United States, and then a social security number. That's what all that was created for. Foreigners. For them to be regulated. For foreign businesses to be regulated. Statutes and codes to be placed upon them. Not we the people. But y'all don't want to understand that. It's too much for you to understand that you've been lied to. You've been tricked into believing what you believe. You've been tricked. Bamboozled. And you don't want to see it. You're blind. And hopefully you will get to see it, even though when it all comes to an end, everything's about to come to an end, and y'all worry about me. This country's about to come to an end, and it got sleeper cells all over this country, and you're all worried about me. When these sleeper cells are about to come for you, when you say, I'm a U.S. citizen, if they ask you, then they're going to put a bullet in your head. Just wait. You'll see. And you'll be wishing that you had listened and stood up for we the people to be in charge. Not the government. The U.S. Constitution was created in the beginning to restrain the government and the states. 9th and 10th Amendment were created to restrain the states from controlling we the people. Nothing in them says we the people are to obey the government. We, the people, are to obey the states. Nothing. Only persons that work in the government, that are personnel. Person is short for personnel. That person is a personnel for that company. So in the Constitution, the words persons are in there. That's for the people in the government. And then there's the people. And that's we the people. And that's not said very often. People. Mostly persons. 11 through 27. Created for people, the persons in the government. How the government is to work. What the persons in the government's supposed to do. The Bill of Rights, the first 10, was created as law of the land. They were rights. Bill of Rights, not Bill of Amendments. Get it straight, dumbasses. They got y'all believing that they're amendments. The rest is 1 through 17. That's amendments for the U.S. government. That's for that. That's not for us. Those who become U.S. citizens, foreigners, they get to vote. Not Americans. Nothing in there says Americans get to vote. Americans are to obey the laws of the government and the states, the territories that don't exist. None of it exists. It's on paper. That's all you see is right here after it's drawn on paper. Right on paper and right here. Only two places that exists. It don't exist in real life. If there was no one to be in the government to run it, no one to be a representative of the states, it would not exist. We would be on just land. That's it. Just land. That's what we're on. Planet Earth. We're not in some country. We're not in some government. We're on planet Earth. We are all the same, and we're all supposed to treat each other equally, and we're not doing that. Cops ain't treated equally to us. Oh, you shot someone, so we're going to take your weapon, we're going to disarm you, and we're going to throw you in jail until we find out you're innocent. No, a cop is innocent till proven guilty. We are guilty till proven innocent. And it's kind of changing once they can see, like if you defended yourself and you killed someone out of self-defense, and they can see, they can notice, well, then you don't go to jail in some states. But other states, they'll throw your ass in jail. Oh, we'll find out if you're innocent. You're guilty first. You go to jail. Used to be innocent until proven guilty. They get a warrant. Judge signs a warrant, says, okay, all the evidence to me seems like it's good enough. And so the judge writes a warrant and says, here, go get them. That's how it's supposed to work. Oh, here's a warrant. Go take their truck for doing this or doing that they weren't supposed to do, their vehicle. That's what warrants are for. That's the law. There's no exceptions in the Fourth Amendment. None. When it comes to the warrant. There's no exceptions. It says it must present a warrant. But y'all think there's some sort of exception somewhere. There's not. The U.S. Supreme Court's not given the right to say, oh, there's an exception. No. Has to say that in the Fourth Amendment. Has to say there's an exception to infringing upon the Second Amendment. Has to say there's an exception to infringing upon the Fifth Amendment. Our right to stay silent. Has to be an exception on the First Amendment to say, oh, you can't say that. There's none of that. And y'all don't want to see that. Y'all just think they can do what they want because you've been brainwashed to think that. You hear it, you believe it from them, and then you just let it be. Let it happen without helping to fight back. Say no. You have rights to be free to travel by any means necessary, to take your private property anywhere you want without any restrictions, without being bothered by any other human when you're not bothering anyone else. Who was I bothering when I was just going along? I was bothering no one. And then some stupid ass order follower comes and bothers me and ruins my life. When I'm not ruining anyone else's life. That's the law. You don't bother anyone. You don't ruin other people's lives. You don't be violent towards anyone. That's the law. That's the way it works, the law of the land. All this other stuff is a law of the humans. Or statutes and codes and all that other crap. They're not laws. They can only pass laws that pertain to morality. This got nothing to do with morality. I hurt no one when I have no driver's license, no insurance, and no tags, and no plates. Who is that hurting not having it? Oh, if I get in a wreck and I caused it and I hurt someone, well, they can sue me. That's what lawsuits are for. That's what lawyers are for. Or we wouldn't need them. We practically don't need them anyways. They don't work for us. They work for the government and they help them put you in fucking prison because they don't uphold the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights like they're supposed to. Even the court-appointed counsels, they work for the government and they do what they want to make them money, or they don't have a job. They're order followers. They're minions. They're yes men. That's what you are. You're a yes man. Yes, sir. Yes, boss. Yes, master. Yes, slave enforcer. That's what cops are. They're slave enforcers. They're not law enforcers.